What's up, everyone? I'm Jordan, back here with Jordan's movie reviews for my first in the Nightmare on Elm Street parts 1 through 6 movie review series. And the first video will be on Nightmare on Elm Street 1984, which is the decade that the original Wes Craven classic released. So, let's get to it. The movie starts with one of our main final girl named Nancy, her friend Tina getting chased in a dream by a burned figure with a red and green striped Christmas sweater and a brown fedora hat with a handmade glove with like finger knives on it. And at first they don't quite know who it is. Well, Tina doesn't, because she's so terrified for her life at this point that she starts telling her friend Nancy about this nightmare, and it turns out that Nancy has been having the same nightmare about this same individual. And of course, they're all not sure what's going on, and Nancy's dad is a cop, and we come to find out that through her dad interrogating her that there's a man named Fred, or as the kids in the neighborhood call him, Freddy Krueger, who was a child murderer. Well, later in the series, it's insinuated or explicitly stated in the 2010 remake that he's a child molester as well, but you get vibes of that in this one, but he's more of a child murderer, just straight up, in the original. And you find out that he's been stalking all these kids through their dreams to kill them, and before he was when he was alive, you find out that he was tried by the system, but wasn't properly tried because he wasn't found guilty of the child murders that have been popping up on Elm Street. So he was let loose, and when he was free, Nancy's mom and a bunch of the other parents on Elm Street, they followed Freddy to his shack, let's say, that he's been keeping his victims in, that he's toying with and then murdering. And they put gasoline all around the hideout and leave a trail of it out the front door, and then they lit it ablaze and burned him to death. And then that's why he's coming after the kids of these people that killed him, was to try to get revenge on them, in particular the parents. And I would say the dialogue is very good for a 1984 slasher film. I won't say it's great dialogue by movie standards, but it was enjoyable for this type of film. For an example, when Tina is getting drawn out of her home and is murdered there, you find out that it was Freddy that was drawing her out, and as the movie goes on, he's able to come out of the dream world and into the real world and actually go after his victims physically. And that's what he's doing in this alleyway at night. He's chasing Tina with his arms outstretched in this just really creepy, shadowy way. Let's put it that way. And she says, "Oh, please, God, help me." And Freddy's like, "This is God." And he cuts off one of his fingers and it starts spewing, like spewing blood or leakage or whatever it was. And she screams and starts running away, and he starts chasing her through like he's having just a blast doing this, torturing these children. And then the direction by Wes Craven was phenomenal. He knew how long to hold a scene or how short to cut a scene and how to edit it together in this perfectly, etc. And then let's talk about the score. In my opinion, in the 1970s and 80s, there were two iconic horror movie themes that we still hum today: Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween. Even the one where they go, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. Just something about these themes for both these franchises are just so iconic. And I am going to give my verdict and rating now. My verdict is that this is by far the scariest slasher film that I've seen from that era. It doesn't rely on jump scares like a lot of today's modern horror movies, which I love. There were a few, but only one really got me because it wasn't predictable like a lot of these horror movies nowadays, where they just tend to rely on cheap tactics like making something jump out at the screen to startle you. They're really relying on your startle reflex instead of your fear. Um, so I am going to give Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 an A+. Peace out, and I will see you guys later. Bye.